students who are studying in STEM fields?
Yes, so they are all the girls who are studying either in Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Technology, Pharma, or some are, I think a few are from architecture as well. So we kept it to any girl who's doing undergrad or postgrad. We have one registered participant who is a return to work mother as well. So who did her MSc like 10 years ago, and now she's looking to restart her this thing. But our elements of the program were not really focused in that target group, but slowly we will, venture in that space as well. But right now our focus is to help girls who are pursuing undergrad and postgrad degrees in science to sort of help them take their next leap. Like it can be a career decision such as like going for a higher education or going for a job. So, and we are like looking at their career clarity, and we are bringing them role models such as you and Ohima here through our weekly meetings. And then the third thing that we do is we give them career readiness as well. So there we are looking at their CVs, SOPs, LinkedIn networking and engagement. So those kind of things. And the first part is delivered by our sort of platform that we have designed, where we have put in the mentoring curriculum that has a strong element of gender into it, like how you can work with, like a lot of time girls just make the choices based on whatever limited opportunity they had in class 11th and 12th. And then there is not really a long-term clarity on where the career is going to go. So we, through this whole intervention, we are trying to bring them a clarity that careers are not linear. So they keep evolving. And when you and Ohima come and talk about your journeys, that gives them a live example of what we are talking in our mentoring curriculum in a way. So that's why we look at a specific question sometimes from the mentors. So for example, from you both, we are looking at scientific temperament, but other places we have asked like how networking has played a role in somebody's career, or how having a broad mindset or interdisciplinary thinking has helped. So every time to the speakers, apart from understanding their career journeys, we also put a specific question that goes in alignment with the theme of our mentoring module happening parallelly. So, and then we complement these with master classes that happen on Sundays, where we are working on the readiness part of it.
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to let you know that I have a hard stop at 7:30.
Sure, no problem. We try to wrap it up by like 7:28, that kind of a time.
Okay,
usually time. So yeah. Anushila, I think we can begin now. Over to you. So I'll just spotlight you. Where are you?
Okay. Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Sandhya Gupta and Ohima and Govt as our Speak Up Kalpana speakers today. So welcome to our session, and thank you for joining us. I'll start with a brief introduction of our speakers, and then I'll request Dr. Sandhya to present and talk about her own journey in STEM. After she finishes, we'll move on to Ohima, and then we'll take live questions from our fellows. So this is our basic agenda. So before we begin, I'll just introduce the speakers. Dr. Sandhya Gupta is the founder of Avishkar Center for Science, Math, Arts and Technology. The organization is located in Kandbari, a remote village in Palampur, Himachal Pradesh. So at Avishkar, they are using unique methods of teaching like math, science, but by using very simple models, for example, inexpensive materials, discarded items, so that they can explain various concepts, but make learning a joyful experience. Dr. Gupta grew up in Bihar, and she has earned her master's and PhD in electrical engineering from Iowa State University in the United States. She has extensive work experience as principal engineer in a semiconductor industry. After spending almost 2 decades in the United States, she and her partner returned to India and founded Avishkar. So thank you, Dr. Gupta. We look forward to listening about your journey in STEM and how Avishkar is revolutionizing science and math education in remote corners of India. Thank you for joining us. Ohima Ando is our next speaker. She is also passionate about encouraging young girls to pursue careers in STEM fields. And her vision aligns with our vision too. And this actually fuels her to start Girls in Science and Technology, in short, GIST. It's an organization that encourages young females and empowers them to stay and pursue their careers in STEM fields. Ohima has her undergraduate degree in geological engineering. She also has almost 6 years or more experience in oil and gas industry as a cementing and simulations engineer. She was nominated as an Outstanding Woman in Innovation at Ghana Outstanding Woman Award. And at the same award ceremony, her organization GIST was awarded the Outstanding Woman Social Community Award. So thank you, Ohima. You are doing great work, and we also look forward to listening to your journey. With that, I'll stop speaking and I'll open the stage for the presentation. Dr. Gupta, would you like to share your slides? Let me make you a presenter.
Okay.
You are already a presenter.
Okay, sounds good. Hello, Kalpana fellows. I hope you are able to see my slide. Thank you, Darshana, and thank you, Anishila, for inviting me to this forum. Always a pleasure to talk to so many young women who are working in the field of STEM. As you already know, many of us graduate from STEM, but very few of us join the field and make a career out of it. And I hope with this Kalpana Fellowship, this change happens in our country. So I run an organization called Avishkar. Our aim is to nurture curiosity, creativity, and critical thinking through STEM education. We work mainly with teachers and students. And what we do is we do research in the field of science and math education. We try to find out what is happening across the world, and we convert it into practical forms to be taken to our classrooms by our teachers. So before I move in any further, I thought I talk a little bit about myself. I have been on the other side of the table as a student. So I would say I kind of know what you're going through right now. So I joined this field because of my love for mathematics. I remember growing up, I would find any math problem and I would sit and I would want to solve it. And the other thing I loved was money. I wanted to make a lot of money. And at that time, I'm from Bihar. So this was like I would say probably a unique combination at that time. A woman wanting to study mathematics and wanting to make money. And whatever I knew at that time, growing up, I could only see engineering as a field in which I could do both. So, but I was from a town where I was the first woman who was riding a bicycle. You know, it's just a bicycle, but girls didn't ride it at that time. And when I got selected for engineering, I was the first woman in my town to go into engineering. So there was a lot of, at that time, this is probably 35 years ago, there was a lot of resistance to me becoming an engineer, and that to an electrical engineering, but I joined it. And I studied engineering. I still remember my very first class in engineering was semiconductor fabrication. And I loved it so much that I was like, when I finished my degree, I would want to go in semiconductor manufacturing. And as luck would have it, I I finished my engineering. I went to work for Tata Steel, and then I applied abroad and got selected in a master's program. And that's how I got to study semiconductor manufacturing. I did my PhD there. And then I started working. Remember my love for mathematics and money? And when I started, and probably at that time, I got the job that I wanted. But I hadn't thought what I would do after that. So I realized that I had made short-term goals for a very long-term life. And that's when things started to change for me. My 9 to 5 was great. I loved the work that I did. But my 5 to 9 continuously pushed me to find a purpose much deeper than money. And that's when I started looking around as to what I could do. I started looking at different organizations in India. And finally, I moved to India. I started supporting different organizations. I moved to India, and I started living here and started volunteering at a school. And that's when I realized what is the difference between knowledge and understanding. Our current education system, we teach about what is the capital of New Delhi, what is the capital of India, what is the birth date of Gandhiji, what is photosynthesis. But we don't really develop an understanding of it. We don't understand why is New Delhi is the capital of India. Because the moment we start asking this question, why, things would change. And the thing is, knowledge is something a teacher can give, but understanding is something that a student has to build on their own. And that is what leads us to this scientific temper. As I was preparing for this presentation, I started looking at the origin of this word scientific temper, and I found out that it was popularized by our first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. What he said was, it's a long quote, but in short, the thing that really attracted me to it was, it's the search for truth and knowledge, new knowledge, the refusal to accept anything without testing and trial, the capacity to change previous conclusions in the face of new evidence, the reliance on observed fact and not preconceived theory. It's a huge ask. And I have gone through the education system of India, so I realized that this is not what we teach for. This is the ask he made for us as India was formed. But this is where we still need to do a lot of work, because current education system teaches for knowledge. It does not teach for understanding. So it teaches procedure. It does not build conceptual understanding. It teaches for what. It does not teach for why. And that's where we need to bring this change. So we at Avishkar, this is where we decided that we will make a difference. We will work with teachers. We will work with students. We will bring this desire. We will bring the relevance. We will bring in the context so that our students want to understand and not just mug up things. It's a simple, and that is why this question, this importance of why is there. Continuously asking to justify, continuously creating a space in our classroom for debate and discussion. I love mathematics, as I said. So earlier, if somebody asked me to add like 27 plus 36, The way I have grown up, and probably many of you, it would be highly appreciated if you quickly gave the response 63. But that's not where the understanding is. The understanding would be when I ask you, why do you think it's 63? How did you do it? And we would realize that each one of you will have to justify your answer. And in justifying our answers, we would see that each one of us does it differently. And each one of us would explain it. So we will be talking in the language of mathematics. Here, the example was mathematics. So you would be talking in the language of mathematics. And you would be justifying. We would be explaining things to each other rather than the teacher writing on the board and we noting it all down. That is not what is science or math, and this is not how we build scientific temperament. So in our desire and to work in this, to build this importance of why in our education system, we have started a new program where we not only work with teachers, we have started working with aspiring teachers, especially women. We see that there is a huge gap in our understanding of mathematics. The way I see it, science is the way we understand the world around us, and mathematics is the language in which we express it. And if we don't know this language of mathematics, we will not be able to do science effectively. So the first step would be to address this problem of anxiety in mathematics that exists across every school. 80% of our students drop STEM fields by the time they reach 10th grade because they're just too scared of mathematics. So how to remove this fear of math? So what we are doing is we are working with aspiring women, especially women teachers, across different communities, specifically our marginalized communities. There could be slums, there could be rural, there could be remote, or marginalized in any form. Because if there is anxiety in mathematics and all, then this anxiety would be much higher in our marginalized communities because they have a poor access to this field. So to work for this importance of why, this is what we are working with. We are creating many more women teachers who can remove this fear of mathematics in our children by removing fear in them and they go into communities so that we can reimagine STEM education in our country. So with that, so here you see one of our schools. This is a school in Himachal Pradesh where we work. So.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. I think you have rightly pointed out the need for getting over this fear of math. And even we see that our STEM champion fellows or Kalpana fellows who are coming from rural areas, the drop-off of math beyond class 10 is even higher. Or after 8th standard, they tend to drop off math. So I think, and this perception that if you take biology, you don't have to worry about maths anymore, that's like completely wrong, because math is important everywhere. And without math, we cannot really proceed with science. So thank you, and a very inspirational work. I'll now request Ohima to take the stage.
Hello.
Hi. I think you have.
Yes. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yes, I can. Okay, so my name is Ohima Ando. I'm from Ghana in West Africa, and I'm going to start with my educational background. So I studied in Ghana from my basic education level to my degree, to the university, my first degree, which was geological engineering, right? So let me start how I got into that in the first place. So basically, growing up, I really loved to draw, and I always thought I would go in the direction of visual arts. I don't know if that's a program you're familiar with, more of a drawing program, right? So I wanted to go into visual arts, but I remember one of my teachers talking to my mom and telling them that to them, they thought doing that would be easy for me, and so I would be playful. And so they advised that I get into science. And I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but here in Ghana, if you don't study science in the senior high level, you can't go anywhere. Like, you can't branch into any other field. So they advised that, to be safe, you're smart, go study science, and after that, you can go into whichever field that you want to go into. And that, I would say, it's a decision that I to date, I still keep in touch with that teacher because it was the best advice I could get. And I think it's quite unfair that kids have to make such a decision so early in life, right? You're just 12, 13, and you have to choose a program that would determine what you're going to do in future. So thankfully, I did science. And then honestly, after that, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just loved science. I thought it was easy. Like, I just really loved doing science, basically. I just loved science, but I didn't know what I wanted to get into. That was the truth. Fortunately for me, my mom took me to KNUST, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology in Ghana, and we spoke to a few lecturers. So during that time, Ghana had discovered oil, and so one advised that I go into petroleum engineering. And another lecturer suggested that I study geological engineering because the mining, like when it comes to mining is booming in Ghana as well. And with geology, that's the study of the earth, right? And everything in the earth, basically. So they felt if it was petroleum, I would be limiting myself. But then with geology, then I could branch into anything that we get from the earth, basically. So I studied geological engineering. Fortunately for me, during my third year, I got an opportunity to work with Schlumberger as an intern. So what Schlumberger was doing in Ghana then was they would go to the universities, select top students in each class, you write an aptitude test, and then you would come for an internship. So I went there, did my internship, came back to school to do my project work. And again, fortunately, I was supposed to be a teaching assistant in school, but then Schlumberger called me again that they would want me to come and serve. So we have this program where we serve after school for 1 year. We call it the national service. So you serve for 1 year. So I went back to Schlumberger to do my national service with them. And then fortunately, again, I was recruited to join them. So my first recruitment, I was posted to Nigeria. I worked in Nigeria for a couple of months, about 6 months. Then I came to Ghana. I'm in a meeting, please. So my 5-year-old just entered, so sorry. Peter, excuse me, I'm in a meeting. When I'm done, I'll come out. So I joined Schlumberger, and from Nigeria, I came to Ghana. I went to the US, I went to France. So sorry about that, right? No So I supported with projects offshore. So let me explain to the students here what I was doing, right? So I was a cementing and stimulations engineer. What my job was that we would go offshore. When I say offshore, we would go to the rig in the middle of the sea. It was deep water drilling. So we would go offshore where I would supervise. So I was in charge of taking care of the chemicals that we would use for our cementing job. So basically, when I say cementing, you know, when it comes to drilling, they drill into the foundation, they put a casing in the foundation, right? And you want this casing to be firm in the foundation. It's just like borehole water drilling, basically. So you want the casing to be firm in the foundation. And this is something we are not seeing. We are doing this remotely. So we are on top, we are in a ship on the water, and everything is happening like underground, right? And we cannot see what is going on there. So we are watching everything on our computers and controlling the vehicles, our ROVs. So we use this to ensure that we do the cementing to ensure that the pipes do not move in the formation. We want to keep it still. So we cement something called the annulus, that is between the casing and the formation itself. So we just get the cement there. Based on the chemicals that we add to the cement, we will determine the thickening time when you want it to solidify, because you wouldn't want the cement to solidify in the pipe as it's going through. So based on the distance and some calculations that we do, you know that maybe in 30 or in 2 hours time, it should have reached the level where you want it to be, and so it can start solidifying. So that is what the cementing is. It's very interesting. That's what cementing is. And with the stimulation, you've drilled into the formation, right? You are doing that to extract oil. So you want to get as much as you can from the formation. So what we do is that we create holes in the formation. We break the formation so that the oil can flow. So basically, you are reducing the pressure there so that the oil can flow up. That is what stimulating the formation is. So I got into that in Schlumberger, and I realized that there was a point where most of the time I would find myself being the only lady offshore. So you can be in the midst of 200 men, and you are the only lady. You have to share the bathroom with men. You are sharing your sleeping space with men. Everything you're doing it with men, and you can find some very rude men. We expect that when a man is educated, they don't say some things, right? Or they don't devalue a woman, but that wasn't the case. So there were times where you would find very rude men saying things like, why would a lady be here? This is no place for a lady. Or you are sharing a cabin with someone, and they want to make the place dirty and expect that you clean it because you are the woman, when you are all there to work. Right? So we still have educated men who see their colleagues as you are there to clean after them. Basically, they don't want to see you as an equal in the workplace. So that was what made me start Girls in Science and Technology in the first place, to encourage and empower our young ladies to go into the STEM fields. That is one. And also with GIST, we also involve young guys, because you realize that as much as we are encouraging our women are going to be working with the men in the field, right? So we are trying to raise and groom a generation of men who are comfortable enough to support and to empower their ladies as well. So as much as we focus on the ladies, we focus on raising a generation of men who can be supportive as well. So that is what Girls in Science and Technology is. And then I have PM-STIAC Educational Center, where it addresses kids from 5 years up. So with that, we have boys and girls, just to instill the whole STEAM mindset. So with STEAM, with kids still love arts. Kids are still creative. So with kids, we've included the arts in it and made it STEAM. We don't want them to lose their creativity. We are trying to build on it as well. So that is what I do. And funny enough, one thing I preach about a lot is having a STEAM mindset. And it's funny how when I got the email and saw the topic was the science temper, right? I was like, wow. So I've been preaching about this, but I didn't know there was actually a term for it as a science temper. So basically, when I talk to people and I say creating a STEAM mindset, I feel people limit STEM or STEAM to a career, to a particular career choice. And that is not it for me. When you tell, sometimes when you're talking to parents and you encourage their kids to go into STEM, they go like, doesn't mean the person has to be a doctor, doesn't mean the person has to be an engineer. They just limit it to a particular career. But one thing about STEM now is that it is everywhere. We have lawyers that are tech lawyers, right? We have business people that are using softwares to develop their businesses. So STEM and STEAM is not now just a career focused thing. It's something everybody needs to practice in their daily lives. So having that, I say this, that mindset, a science temper or a STEAM mindset, kind of helps you find your purpose. And let me explain it this way. When I say it helps you find your purpose, with a science temper, what are you doing? Now you're moving around looking for problems, right? You identify these problems, and what do? You come up with solutions to solve these problems, right? And sometimes one mistake people make is you think, if I've identified a problem, I have to solve it on my own, alone. No. There are some people who are good at identifying problems. There are people who are good at coming up with solutions, but then they cannot identify problems. So that is why we encourage, when you talk about STEM, we encourage you ladies, or if not just ladies and men, to work in groups, to work in teams. And that is what the science temper also talks about, right? So you identify, you come up with solutions, you communicate what you've identified, you communicate the solutions as well. And how do you do this? Through collaborations. So as you're growing up, as you're developing yourself in your own careers, you'd realize it doesn't all fall on you. Just like what this organization is doing, they call on different people with different ideas, different backgrounds to always come on board to help them reach their vision, right? They could have said that, you know what, I'll come up with this topic and every week I'll just come and talk about it. But what did they do? They involve other people. And when you talk to different people, you get different ideas. And just then you get your aha moments, like this works better. You always feel you know, but then you talk to other people and you go like, oh, wow, like this is a better solution. And then you add on what the idea that you have, you add on to it. So when it comes to science temper, one, you have to know how to identify problems. Do not ignore. There are problems everywhere, in your homes, on your streets, in your communities, in your workplaces, in the society. And I feel STEM or STEAM is beneficial to us in the developing countries because we are yet to find solutions to a lot of the problems that we have. So you always have to move around with that mindset. You always have to have an open mind, right? Always be ready to learn new things. And sometimes you feel that, oh, this is not a problem because someone has done this, someone has come up with a solution. But you can only get better. You can always improve on the solutions already available. You identify the problem, one. You sit down and say, okay, so this person has already done this, that. Is it enough? What can I do to make this better? Right? So there's always improvement that has to be done somewhere. Every time there's an improvement that can be done somewhere in your own life. You can get an A, you can get even 100%, right? But you can get plus. You can even get a distinction because you went an extra mile to do something else, right? It only gets better. So when you have that science mindset, you move with that science mindset. You are never troubled. You know that, yes, in the moment, it's a problem. But you are always coming up with the solutions, always thinking about making it better. So that is not troubling because you are working on it. So just always address things with a problem. Be a problem solver, if I should say. That is basically what STEM talks about. Being curious. If you're curious, you identify problems. You become you start thinking about it and analyzing all these things critically. That is what STEM preaches. You communicate it, you collaborate with other people. I'm in Ghana. I'm talking to you from India. And hopefully through this, one day I could visit, right? So this is how you collaborate and meet people, come up with solutions, discuss, and just address things. And how did they find me? I always like to preach this to our young ladies. Visibility. So you could be, I'm in Ghana, but based on what I'm doing, based on the work they've seen me do on LinkedIn, I was approached, right? So as you're coming up with solutions, as you're identifying problems, put yourself out there, discuss it. We want you to be visible, and there'll be people out there willing to help you solve these problems as well. Okay, so it doesn't have to be, you don't have to wait for a very big opportunity. The opportunity now that we have is social media. That is what we have now that I'm sure Dr. Sanha didn't have earlier, right? But now it's there. So you can put your problems out there, open up for people to also come up with ideas. You discuss it. That's how you collaborate with people and come up with solutions. So you have to be very visible as well. I don't know if there's anything I've not touched on yet. And from what you are discussing, I can see Ghana is very similar to India when it comes to our educational system. It's always the theory, and students don't even understand what exactly is being taught in class. And one thing is we've been programmed to just learn and pass your exam. So we have a lot of people outside school who don't have jobs because they were not taught to create jobs. They were not taught to identify problems and come up with solutions on their own. That is how you developing a science temperament helps you. So you sit down, you identify a problem, you start coming up with solutions. And as Dr. Sanha said, when I started working, it was the money for me. Like it was all about the money. But when you find your purpose, it's deeper than money. And one thing I have realized that with consistency, your purpose is going to start generating you money. So you just have to sit down, have that scientific temperament, identify problems, come up with solutions, be consistent because it's not easy. I'm sure if they had to share some of the challenges that they've had to face, the number of no's that they've had to get to where they are now, people give up easily, right? But once you know the focus, you know the aim, you know the vision, you keep pushing. So that's what I would want to share with you all today. If you have any questions, I'm sure it would open up for me to say more things. Thank you.
Thank you, Hema. You, I think, covered all the topics that they are going to go through in their recorded lectures, including like all the 21st century skills, collaboration, communication, and then critical thinking, problem solving. And we have recently conducted a masterclass with them on LinkedIn so that they can build effective LinkedIn profile and utilize that platform for their professional purposes. So I would also request the girls to start utilizing that platform and just not be done with the assignment. With that, let's open the floor for questions, girls. Please speak up.
So I have a question for, Sandhya, Di and Ohima both, because I realized both of them came from fields that were very, very low in terms of women at the onset of their careers, right? Like, I can only imagine in an offshore refinery being the only woman, or a woman in electrical engineering is both a very, very rare species, I would say. So did it feel daunting at times, like when you were at the beginning of your career? Did you feel afraid? And if you felt afraid, how did you overcome that fear? And were there any tips that you would want to give to girls who will join workforce soon and may face similar challenges, particularly from colleagues who are extremely unwelcoming, right? So that can shake your confidence. So any tips on them to, from both of you? Like, this question is to both of you.
Okay, interesting question. So I remember, so my first job was in Tata Steel, a steel manufacturing unit in Jamshedpur. An excellent company to work for, very nurturing. But me as a woman, there were very few women and very few women engineers. I would go in shop floor, and I was working on repair now of programmable logic controllers. So it was very, very common that I am the only woman on the shop floor or in a meeting. So initially I used to think, so that was all within me, I would say, that I am a woman who is going to listen to me. I'm the only woman who's going to listen to me. Because when you go, even in a conference room, when you sit, you try to find a place initially to sit with the ones who are friendly to you or who you have some similarity with. So, but there would be hardly any women in that meeting, right? So you are either sitting by yourself, or if there is a woman, probably you're sitting by them. But with time, I realized the statement remained the same. I am a woman. I am the only woman in the room. Earlier, I used to think, who is going to listen to me? Later on, I started to think, I am a woman. I am the only woman in the room. Whatever I say, they will listen to me. And the moment that shift happened in my head, I think the confidence started to show. The thing is, it's for us to decide if we are going to use it as an advantage or a disadvantage. It's all up here. And I think many a times things like this happened, but the moment my mind was able to make the shift, things probably were still difficult, but I think it is like horse. You put blinders so that they can go in the race straight. I think that happened. And those did not look like problem anymore. They probably were still there, but you felt like, I am here and I am going to do what I want to do. They will listen because I'm a woman. So that shift was, I think, was like a turning point for me. Ohima, would love to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so with me, I remember going offshore the first time, and there was a night, not a night, like for a week straight, I would always cry myself to sleep, right? Because I'm like, wow, is this what I signed up for? I would literally cry myself to sleep. And I would call my husband then, and it's like I just wanted my husband to say, you know what, you can come home. It's like I knew I loved the job, but I needed somebody to say, come home. And he wasn't going to be that person. He kept saying, just push through. So one thing I realized was that to be in that field, to have that opportunity, you are paving a path for others, right? So what path am I trying to pave? What am I trying to leave? You'll always be that first woman who was on this vessel with us. Will this wants them to bring other women on board, or is that going to shut opportunities for other women? So that was what I should say changed my mindset. That was the shift that I needed. People are going to mention your name all the time. How do you want them to remember you as, right? So I wanted to be that colleague that paved the path for other women to come on board. So I became a fearful woman, if I should say. Now you wouldn't, yes, you would hear me speak up at meetings. I would come all smiley, speak up at meetings, get my points across, and make sure that you understand me clearly, right? You would hear my opinions. We would argue out if we have to. I became a fearful woman. Basically, that is it. It wasn't something that you would speak over me. No. If it's my turn to speak, I will speak because I respect you enough to give you your turn to speak. So that was it for me, yes.
Well said.
Thank you. Thank you. Really beautiful perspectives and how you could change your mind and move forward. Fellows, please raise your hands and ask questions.
Come on, girls, this is your chance. Like, I have so many questions because I'm having a fangirl moment right now, listening to their amazing stories. And for me to be able to interact with someone I have considered a role model, in the last 5-6 years. So I have lots of questions, but I want to give you all a chance. So please, they both are entrepreneurs as well, apart from being amazing, very, very strong women engineers. They are also entrepreneurs. So you can ask them questions about their entrepreneurial journeys as well. So please, I see you all asking questions in the other sessions. Why not here? Raise your hands, whoever hasn't got a chance yet.
Would you like to ask the question live? Himani has a question in the chat. Himani?
Okay. Okay, Shireen also raised hand, right? Himani, you want to unmute yourself and ask this question?
Okay, when I'm having a fangirl moment, I want to hear more of these stories. I mean, you could talk a bit more. I would be so happy. And yeah, as Rashina ma'am said, could you tell us about your entrepreneurial journeys now that you have achieved XYZ? What now? How are you growing now?
Okay, this was Shireen. We'll take Himani's question after this.
Should I go?
Rima, can we start with you?
Okay, so now what I do is that I'm a trained transformational coach, and I have specified in training teachers, right? We need that mindset shift. So we realized that if we are trying to educate a new generation, right, with a scientific temperament, it starts from those who are actually impacting that knowledge. We need to start with the teachers, their mindset, and also with the parents as well. So because they are all stakeholders when it comes to education. So I love to include teachers. I love to include parents. So it's a mindset shift that I'm trying to deal with now, where we take them through coaching trainings, and basically for them to understand the concepts of STEAM, right, and how they can apply it in their everyday lives. So I also organize this thing where we call STEAM Fest, where I bring together about 18 organizations for a day festival and to give students hands-on STEM experiences. So this year we had about 600 people attending that festival. And I just released a children's book that is called STEAM All Around Us. So basically I use simple terms to explain STEAM to kids with a target from 5 to 12 years. So that is what I'm doing now in my entrepreneurial space.
Okay, so thank you for this question. What we do now is I had started my journey as an engineer for my love for mathematics. And I guess after working in that field for several years, my midlife crisis came a bit sooner than I had expected. And then I wanted to do something different. So I moved to India. I came here and I started volunteering at the school that was very close to my home, a village government school. And I was also reading about education, and I saw, like in India, we say that in an average school, a fifth grader reads at the level of second grade. they can't do basic add, subtract, multiply, divide. And I really saw that all that in school. So we started our journey from there. But then very quickly I realized the problem is with the students, because teachers are teaching for procedure, because the conceptual understanding is not developed there. And so this is what we decided to do. And that is what we do now. We work with teachers across the country in science and math education. So when we say STEM, we say science, technology, engineering, and math. I would say we do a lot of science and math and engineering. We use technology to do that, but our stress is not technology. It's more science and math. Because as I said, science is how we understand the world. Mathematics is the language through which we understand it. And when we start to apply all this in our life, we need technology for it. And we do it through the process of engineering. So that is what we work with teachers, because if we can show them the importance of conceptual understanding, and we can show them that science and math is visual. It is, our students can see it, we can see it. It is relevant to us. It is in our daily life, as Ohima was saying. So if we can show our teachers all this, and we can show that you don't have to use this big jargons like photosynthesis. I mean, even if it's spelling is so difficult for our students to memorize, how will they even understand it? So how can we break it? And we can show this in very simple language to our teachers, so that they find it much simpler to take it to their students. So that we can create this culture of active thinking classrooms. Because right now, I mean, I'm sure we have all, especially in India, and I think Ghana would probably be the same. We have learned through procedure. We have not been asked to think in our classrooms. What is it we can do to encourage that thinking? It is not only activity hands-on. We need hands-on and minds-on. So this is what we work on right now, continuously. I mean, every day, this is what we do.
That is so inspiring. Thank you. I have another question. Was there something like, maybe when you were little girls, both Ohima and Sandhya, like, was there something intimidating? Like, there's this question of, do I deserve to be where I am? Do I deserve to be in science? Am I good enough? Situations like this, were they? I mean, I don't think if you got my question clearly.
Yes,
Imposter.
yes.
I think that's a very good question, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Like, how did you deal with imposter at various stages of your life?
I think initially, as I finished, when I was, as I said, I always loved mathematics, right? So that was not a problem. Then I became an engineer, and there were very few women. So that time, that was also not a problem. But actually, when I started to work is when that problem came. Because there were so very few of us. And it's not, although I didn't hear, but I think, I don't know if I imagined it in my head or the culture is like that, oh, you are a woman and you still did it. So you fight that internal, I mean, at least I fought that internal battle. Am I good? Or because I'm a woman, they are trying to praise me. So, but I think I was, because I'm raised in a family where we are all sisters. I did not have a brother. And I think that was a boon. I shouldn't be saying this, but I think that was a boon. And so I never really got compared to a man. So and I am the eldest in the family. So I always thought if somebody is going to be doing this, it's going to be me. And I think all that battles as a woman that you fight at home with your parents, they prepare us for the real world outside. So all those battles, initially I hated them when extended family came and asked these questions. So they asked me to stand up every time. That was such good practice that I really started to believe, fake it till you make it. And then later on, I also found somebody giving a TED talk on that. You have to believe in yourself. If you can't, at least your face shouldn't be saying that. And I think once you practice it enough, and I think that's the difference between men and women. We are nurtured to do something only when we are absolutely sure of ourselves. But when it comes to a man, even if they are 50% sure, they will give it a try. And I think for us, for women, this is what we need to shift. Even if you don't know fully, reach out a little bit more, go beyond the comfort zone. We may fail. That's the only thing that's going to happen. So our practice of failure has to increase. It does not matter. Maximum would happen is that we would fail. We will rise up and do it again. And that is the practice that I think culturally, the way we are, we don't give our women that room. You know, play that football. What if you fall? It's okay. Try for something much bigger than you can. And once we start doing that, that confidence will come. It just doesn't have a choice. So initially, yes, what you said, it does happen. But with time, reaching out of that comfort zone really makes us try and take more risk and gives us that confidence.
Well said. So you've said exactly what most of the things I was going to say. My mom and my sister raised me, basically. So I wasn't raised in a home with men. So I actually never knew there was a difference till I got older. Let me say that. So I was never ever intimidated by anything. So the way we raise our kids is very powerful. It starts from the home. The way you empower your kids at home, it's truly powerful. Because I never ever thought there was this whole career, a gender-based career growing up. I never knew that. I was never privy to that as a child. And even through my education, I've always been a very confident person. You always find me speaking up. You always find me in leadership positions, like rubbing shoulders with the guys. It was normal for me. So the whole imposter syndrome came in when I was working and crying myself to bed. It wasn't really about imposter syndrome. It was just about, like, I'm the only lady here. Why is somebody expecting me to clean? Why is somebody talking to me this way? Do you get it? That was why, not imposter syndrome, not that I don't deserve to be here. Because out of all the applicants, I went through my interview. I did most of the things other people couldn't do. I assembled all the parts I was supposed to assemble. So I knew I deserved to be there. With that, I was very sure of it. But it came in so during my 6 years working there, I got pregnant. Like, as I had my 2 kids, right? And both pregnancies, I found out offshore. And I still caught up to all my promotions. Like, I was still able to meet up and do everything I needed to do to get promoted. So the imposter syndrome came in. I was wondering, like, do I really deserve this next promotion? Because I felt, I've gotten pregnant. I've taken 3 months leave. Like, did I do what was expected of me? As much as yes, I did it, but my mind was always fighting with me, right? Because I would hear people complain about how they are trying to meet up with their promotion and something is delaying them, they can't do it. But then I see myself taking 2 maternity leaves and then still catching up, like still getting my promotions on time. So I was now beginning to wonder, are they just giving it to me because I'm a lady, or do I actually deserve this? But even with that, I realized I'm actually doing the job. Like, I'm checking off all the things I have to check off on the list, right? So which means I'm actually doing what is required of me. So it took a conscious effort to just switch myself back to, no, you deserve this. Like, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Nobody's giving you any handouts. So it takes you being very conscious. And one thing about being successful is it is not easy. If it was, everybody would be. It takes you being intentional. You wake up and you are intentional that this is how I want my day to go today. And you work towards it, right? So that was it for me. Yes.
Thank you so much. The stories are really nice to hear. The background stories.
Thank you. So both of you. I'll take Mani's question that was in the chat. It was directed at Ohima. So she asked, like you said, at your college days, you didn't know ahead like what field you want to go in science. So was there any sort of anxiety that you dealt with because of this uncertainty? And then how did you deal with those anxieties?
Okay, so one thing I've always wanted to do is to motivate and inspire people, right? And I knew that with that, it meant I had to do my best wherever I found myself. So it wasn't, I don't think I was anxious about it. I was just actually grateful for the direction that I was getting. But I knew that wherever it is that I would end, wherever I find myself, whatever position that I find myself in, I just have to do my best. So that was it for me. So sometimes I would find people, we still have people who would find themselves in the engineering field and go like, I didn't even want to come here. And so they wouldn't be studying hard, not performing well in school. But I feel it's either I'm leaving or I'm doing my best. Like, if I feel this is not right for me, then I'm leaving. But I won't stay in one place and complain or be anxious about it. It's either I decide to leave, or if I'm staying, then I have to put in my best. So that's it for me. If I'm somewhere and I'm not comfortable with it, it's either I leave to where I feel I'll be more comfortable with, or if I decide to stay, I don't complain and I just deal with it.
Perfect. Thank you, Ohima. I think Aisha has a question. Aisha, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yes, ma'am. So before I ask my question, I would like to say, Sandhya ma'am, I just love how honest you were while you were sharing your journey. And my question is directed to you also. I wanted to ask if math anxiety is a really widespread thing in Indian girls. So their mind shut off the time they see numbers. So what activities or projects do you exactly use to get them interested in maths? If you can share that with us.
Thank you, Aisha, for this question. Yes, you are very right. Math anxiety is very high, not only in girls, but in boys also. When I say 80% of our students want to leave math, it is agnostic to what is their economic background, what gender they are, what caste they are, what religion they are, nothing matters. They are 80% of our students are scared of mathematics. So what we do is, so we have to create a culture of mathematics and develop this mathematical mindset by showing our students first developing that understanding of numbers. When I say numbers, the way we are taught procedures, but we can see mathematics. Mathematics is a language. Somebody says Aisha bought, for example, Aisha bought 12 mangoes and she bought it from 5 different shops. Now this is a story of Aisha buying mangoes. I can write it in English, or I can write it in the language of mathematics, right? So Aisha bought 25 mangoes from 12 different shops. Why she did it is a different issue altogether. And that's where, what does it say? It says 25 is added 12 times. And for shortcut in mathematics, we write it as 12 times 25. But this is something we do not teach kids. So, and that is why they do not develop this understanding. And when you are talking to a 5th grader, they will, as the teacher goes next to it, they would be asking, Madam, isme multiply karna hai ki divide? The thing is, they did not understand what was to be done. So we need to show our children that mathematics can be seen. It's a language. It's a study of patterns. And we can actually touch and feel it. It can be done in multiple ways. There is no one way to do it. But only when we make, all this would be possible only if our teachers know how to do this. And unfortunately, most of our teachers do not know this because they have been a part of the same system where we have only talked about procedures. So, the way I have seen, by multiplication, many kids are scared. Fraction, another holy grail. By the time this X comes, the story of X, you just want to leave mathematics because now it is totally beyond understanding. But the thing is, you can see X, you can see these patterns. And so this is what we do in our sessions. We give these tools, we make this, our teachers see these tools, see how easy they are to implement so that they can take it to the students in classroom. But again, remember, teachers have taught for many, many years and habits are very difficult to change. So we are really working one teacher at a time, trying to find out those who are interested and those who are willing to join in this, in our continuous battle to create this change in mathematics. And the same thing with science, because I do more math. So I will give you more math example. If you're talking to somebody else in Avishkar, they would be giving you science examples. So maybe some other time I will, if there is a need, you let me know and I will do a session on mathematics and I could show you how mathematics can be seen.
That would be great. We will definitely take you up on that. I think sure. We need to have a session like that. Thank you so much, both of you. We'll take, we are about 7:15, so maybe we'll take one more question before we close the session. Prasansa has a question. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I had 2 questions, but I would try to club them in one. So my first question is, what are the skill set that you think every entrepreneur must have or must acquire before starting their journeys? And my second question was specifically for Sandhya, ma'am. I just now we heard that you completed your PhD and then your MBA. So how did you overcome that time foundations that Indian society has on women particularly?
Okay, I would let Ohima take the first question, and then when it comes to answer both questions, we'll take.
Hello.
We can hear you,
Hello?
Ohima. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay. So first and foremost, you should be able to communicate your vision, right? The vision that you have, whatever problem that you're trying to solve, right? Because as an entrepreneur, you've identified a problem and you're coming up with a solution to it. How are you going to sell this idea to people? How are you going to communicate this idea out there for people to buy into it, right? You have to work on that. So communication skills is very important. I mentioned being visible. Visibility is very important because you can be, I always say this, how you brand yourself, visibility is a very high form of branding, right? How you brand yourself, therefore, those who need your service to be able to see you and reach out to you. So you communicate what your idea is, what it is that you are selling. You also show visibility so that you can reach the people that you can provide this service to. And also, you have to be focused. Being focused is a skill that we need in our daily lives, right? If you are not focused, you will easily be swayed because there are so many things going on around us. So as soon as you lose your focus, your attention will be on something else. And then you realize that you waste time on that before you find your way back to your path. So you have to be very, very focused. These are the three that come to mind now. Maybe after she's done with hers, if a couple will come to mind that I'll share with you. So being focused, being visible, and being able to communicate the solution and the problem that you're solving. Yes.
Yeah, so I would totally agree with what Ohima said. She pointed out some very, very important things. And for me, I would say, choose the idea that you're madly in love with. And I have found in my case, that's why I always think Avishkar on my mind 24 hours a day. It's just always, 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 because probably I love mathematics and science so much. And I think entrepreneurship is, and you probably have seen Darshana do this with you all the time. You're madly in love with this idea, and you are an evangelist. Who's continuously talking to people and making them fall in love with your idea. We are continuously trying to increase our influence, showing people why this idea is important. Ohima was saying that to you. She was saying communicate, communicate, communicate. This is the idea that we choose. It's our North Star. We are continuously pointing to the whole team that this is the direction we are going. People may want to go all different ways, but we continuously put them all together and keep telling them, this is the way I'm pointing. So you're literally standing there and pointing through your actions. So extremely, and entrepreneurs are those people who are not scared of failing. We fail every day. We fail at multiple things every day, and we succeed some, but we are not scared of failures. We take it in our stride. We probably write 20 funding proposals and not even one succeeds, but we still keep telling people, I see Darshana laughing. This is what we keep doing because we so strongly believe in our dream of how we will change this world. And we need many of us, and we need many women, because when women come up with an idea and they are trying to solve it, because we are women, we would be taking that space. Right now, the space has been taken by a lot of men. More women come to the space and populate their ideas, more solutions will become. There will be a diversity in solutions because we think differently, because we were nurtured differently. So both of us, both men and women, and different geographies, we would be able to solve these problems differently. And that is why, and that is what drives us. So I hope I have answered this first question. Anushila, would you please remind me of the second question?
Prasansa, I think you would have to remind us. I
Yes,
also.
Yes, the
not
second
an
question.
issue, ma'am. Yeah, my question was, ma'am, as you went for your PhD and after that your MBA, so it might have taken long, of course. So, like, how did you overcome that time foundations which Indian society puts on us? And as you know, it takes a long time as compared to other fields, like which are not STEM fields.
So what do you mean by time foundation?
So I think what she's trying to tell you, Sandhya, is like doing a PhD is a very long path, right? When you start after your, finishing your engineering and all, and you also worked in between. And so I think what Prasansha is perhaps, correct me if I'm wrong, Prasansha. So I think what you are wondering is like the whole academic life has been pretty long, but as Sandhya mentioned, that she also worked in between. She was at Tata Steel and she was working in the US after her PhD as well. So so she's like, it's been a lot of studies. How did it like before attaining that economic independence and all? I think she missed the part that you were working in between as well. So is that what you're asking, Prasansa? Like,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So she's worked like at all stages in her academic journey. So maybe you can quickly.
Yeah. So Prasansa, so there are two ways to talk to family. One, ask for permission, and the other one, inform. If you ask for permission, then you might get a no, and then you will have to fight. But if you inform, then they have to fight. Right? So I have always been the one to inform. I have done what I have wanted to do. And I would say in that case, especially my mother has been very, very supportive. So I worked for 4 years. I found my partner. So like every family, my family also, both our families also wanted to get married before we moved. I moved abroad, but I wasn't sure if I would change my mind. So I decided to not marry and went ahead and did my master's. And after my master's is when both of us thought that now we want to live together. And that's when we got married. Then I did my PhD, and then I did my master's in public affairs, not MBA. I did my master's in public affairs. But by this time, I was making my money as I was doing my PhD because I had scholarships. So I was not dependent on family. And I think I was making more than what I needed to support my life with. So I had extra also. So by that time, when you move far away, you become a matter of pride, whatever the reason may be. And then people stop asking all those questions. You might see my cat's voice as I'm talking to you because he wants to be on my lap. So that's how the so-called time foundation, I could never sense it. So it was okay. Probably my family felt, but they never said anything.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I really like that answer. From now, I will also inform.
Thank you, Sandhya and Ohima, for such amazing session. And Sandhya, especially I like the part when you said inform versus ask. That's what I have been doing for a very long time at home as well. And just a very quick example. When Vijay and I were still dating and I came back from England and I wanted to go and meet him. So to tell my parents that I'm going to meet my boyfriend and travel all the way to South Delhi, India, was a difficult thing. And I just said to them, I'm making a trip to Bangalore. And no permission asked, nothing. They also had their own challenges, like they would ask their questions and everything, but you have to stand your ground. And I think you're not seeking the. So I told my mother, like, I remember telling this, Mummy, I'm not asking, I'm telling you that I'm going. And I think it's a very, very important exercise in assertion, both in your personal as well as professional spheres. And I'm sure, by hearing both your inspiring journeys, our girls today are taking away this lesson that how do you create that space for your beliefs and your ideas and your choices and wants in life, and not just and it begins at home. So I think the moment we start asking for what is rightfully ours at home, we are able to assert it in professional spheres as well. So and which is very evident from both your journeys, because you both said that you didn't grow up with brothers in the family, or in Hima's case raised by mother and her sister. So I think that does create a space for us to sort of assert ourselves and dream in a limitless manner. So thank you for sharing your limitless dreams with us today. And we wish you both all the best in your entrepreneurial journeys and the impact that you are creating every day with your work. I am deeply inspired. Sandhya, hope someday Anushila, Vijay, and I will come and visit you in Palampur. That's been on our list for a long time. So we will definitely make that trip. And thank you, Ohima, for joining us from Ghana and sharing about your journeys across continents. We are very, very inspired with the vision and the boldness with which you have carried yourself at both personal as well as professional fronts. And we look forward to collaborating with you to expand, to share the curriculum and the program that we have built in Kalpana here, and to bring more international girls together so that, as you said, they can collaborate and co-create solutions for a better world. I think we need that. We need to give girls that environment where they are able to thrive and make their choices. So thank you for sharing your time with us in shaping the future of STEM. And we are very, very grateful. Thank you once again from all of us.
Thank you. It was wonderful listening to you, Ohima. Very inspirational. Thank you, Darshana. Thank you, Anushila.
Same here. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.